Welcome to a special edition of the Grassroots Government Podcast. I'm Avery Davidson, joined by Carl Wiggers, who produces this and handles all of our wonderful podcast. Also, Joe Mapes, the legislative specialist for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. And the reason why this is a special edition of the Grassroots Government Podcast.
It's special.
It's special because we're not in the Farm Bureau building.
Which
we're
is
actually,
nice.
Yeah. We're in a much better place, the big pointy building downtown Baton Rouge, the Louisiana State Capitol. And joining us is Clay Schexnayder, Speaker of the House for the Louisiana House of Representatives.
Thank you. I'm glad y'all here and can able to visit us in the not only just the Capitol, but the Speaker's office, right?
Heck yeah.
This is like exclusive quarters, man. I walked in, I'm like, dude, this is fine.
I feel important just being here.
I'll give y'all the 50-cent tour when we're done. Right?
I was like, how many years did I spend in journalism? And I think I may have been in this office one time before.
This is my second time. First time with you.
That's right. And look, it's amazing, just the history, and we'll go through that on another set. We'll do another one up here. But
quickly, Mr. Speaker, aren't we sitting in the room that basically where Governor Huey P. Long was shot right outside this
right
door
outside
behind
these
me?
double doors behind Joe is where the governor was shot, or the congressman was shot. But this office served for 8 governors, and actually it touched on ag at one time, right? Governor Jimmy Davis brung his horse in here, right inside that office, through that door right there, and took pictures with his horse. He rode up the front steps and came into this office with his horse.
I didn't know that. Now we're going to have to find a copy of that picture.
I know.
It's on my wall in there.
I got to see. I'm going to have to take a copy of that. That's nice.
So it's a special office, and when you look at the governors that served in here, and you look at the furniture that's in the actual office part, this is more of a little conference room that we're in right up front. It was a reception room, but the office, all the furniture is original. My office was actually a conference room, and my chief of staff's office was actually the governor's office. And if you go in there, there's still a board that Huey had installed so he could watch how members vote. And my desk actually still has light switches underneath the desk that he had installed.
I have seen that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that had been installed to both voting chambers. And when he saw the vote wasn't going his way, he would kill the power to him.
Oh, wow.
And he'd
crazy.
go out and have a talk with Representative.
He would whip the votes he needed, right?
That's right, Representative Mapes, and say, you know that road you wanted? You know?
How many times have you used that switch?
I'm trying to get them hooked back up, but they won't let me. So
That's cool. It's really cool. I texted my wife when I pulled in here, and I was like, man, it's really cool to be back in the Capitol. I don't know if you want to call it magic or some.
There's an aura about it.
It's just
Yeah,
cool
an
to
air.
be in
Well,
here. It's
before we leave
really
the
historic.
subject, and Mr. Speaker probably would not have brought it up because he might consider it bragging, but Miss June Pay manages the state capitol gift shop, which is now on the 23rd floor?
24th floor.
24th floor, okay? And I've been in this building since I was a child. I used to hide in this building, all kind of places. But the doorknobs now that have taken off some of the old doors, you can get as a paperweight for $30 upstairs. To me, that is a piece of memorabilia.
Yeah.
It's limited.
Yes.
But it's not just that. It's the abundance of stuff. And so he's invested a lot of time, effort, and money in that gift shop. We got to go up there before y'all leave.
And if y'all would have saw it before, it used to just be nothing there. It was like a powder blue color walls, and the floor was kind of coming up.
It's like a prison.
And I tell people all the time, I'll probably go down as one of the worst speakers ever because I hate seeing this building falling apart and the maintenance not being done. And if you look at the few things that we've done, we upgraded and fixed it up. It's totally been renovated. People love it. The chamber, we actually been upgrading in there. We've upgraded in the downstairs cafeteria that's reopening soon.
All new curtains in the chamber.
All new curtains in the chamber that were rotten and just falling apart. Technology-wise, electronics, we did all of that. So it's going to be good.
All of that costs money.
It does.
A lot of money. And this is going to be one of those few years in which we go into the session starting on March 14th that we're going to actually have a surplus going in. Mr. Speaker, what's that like?
Well,
Do you remember what it's like?
Well, and I was fixing to say, if you look back and you look at when we came in 2020, we did have a small surplus, right? It wasn't huge like we had before. But I think what you've seen over the last, the last 6 years, you've seen the legislature more or less steering us in a direction to where we would have a surplus. We're not overspending. We're being really conservative on things, still trying to hit the necessities that we need. And I think even back during the Jindal years when we were scraping to get things by, it was tough. And trying to manage money when you had none was even tougher, right? Now that you have it, the needs are much more. People are coming and they're knocking on the doors, wanting us to help with things. But I think going into it, it is a good situation to have, but it's also a hard situation to have because you have to figure out what's the critical needs that need to be done.
Now, word on the street is that you and the chairman of appropriations have decided to not endeavor in any recurring expenses whatsoever when it comes to the budget.
Absolutely. And look, I think that's smart. And I think people out there in the real world do the same thing.
I do it at my house.
Yes, we all do. And it's just common sense. You're not going to spend money that is not reoccurring and you want. If you do something with it, make sure that it's on a one-time expense. And we're going to do that. There's a lot of things in the governor's suggestions that he sent us that lean towards reoccurring expenses using one-time money. We're going to look at those and we're going to work with them and try to find a passage forward.
I got to be honest. I play the ignorant one in this whole role. You haven't listened to many of these podcasts probably, but can you explain, I guess, what a reoccurring might look like, a reoccurring expense versus maybe a one-time? Like, what does it look like?
The easiest way is your reoccurring expense is your light bill, right? You know every year that light bill is coming, right? And if you don't have a light bill and you add that to your budget, then it becomes a reoccurring expense.
Okay.
Where a one-time budget is the bonus you get at Christmas when you at your job, right? They bring you a bonus check and you calculate that into your household budget and you think you're going to get that $1,000 every month now. Well, you're not. You're only going to get it one time a year, right?
What would some of those expenses, I guess, look like on a state level? Or is that just a loaded question that can be anything?
It could be anything when you look at reoccurring, whether it's adding employees to certain things and upping a budget. And if you go back, you remember during the Katrina days, we were kind of in the same situation, right? We got a whole bunch of money and we came in, and what ended up happening then was we put one-time money in reoccurring expenses and we blew the budget up really, really high. We're not
try and get those 3-to-1 matching dollars.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that this time. You're going to see us using one-time money on one-time projects, and hopefully we get a lot of things that are, my passion on it is making sure that they're shovel ready. Make sure that these projects are something that the people of Louisiana can see and that they need right now.
So road improvements, bridges, lots of infrastructure that you pay one time and then you might have to pay a little bit for maintenance later on, but you're saving the maintenance costs that you have now because we have roads that are falling apart. I mean, I went up to Morehouse Parish where literally 2 to 3 foot ruts on a parish road.
Yes.
Oh, I've got a video of that he made. We'll send it to you. You won't believe it. You'll think we're making it up.
And look, not only just roads and bridges, but roads and bridges where the jobs are actually ready to be done. I don't want to put money on a project that's 20 years away, right? I want to put money on projects that have been in the pipeline that are essential and we need them. And I want to put those dollars there so we can get them going now.
That also gives it's a good return on investment because you can see where that money went next year or 2 years from now when that bridge is completed.
Prior to the COVID money coming in, because the COVID money for infrastructure, for example, says you can only spend it on one-time expenses, not recurring. Because I see this at least having an effect on the legislature too, of their general thinking of how to handle the budget, right?
And look, we thought about it in those ways. The one thing that you didn't have as much as what we have right now. And now that we have it, we have to be really smart. You look at the things that we've done the last couple of years when it came to the Main Street program and helping businesses back home. That's a one-time expense, right, that we can do and we can help with. You look at the loggers program that we did to help the loggers during the COVID and they struggled. We put that program in place. There's things out there that we can do that we think of lots of times to help small businesses, to help people that are in need. And you want to help those ones that are, you want to help everybody, but you want to help the ones that are actually giving back to the communities and helping your grocery stores, your restaurants, your pick one. Those are the people that are every day. They're out there working every day, right? They're getting things done. And that's the ones you really want to boost up to.
Those are the ones who are going to turn those dollars over and over and over again in the community.
That was $10 million for that loggers program, right? Yeah.
And we have another piece coming back this year for the loggers.
Right.
So
that's what I heard that.
That's huge. And we're going to look at some other programs that we can help with to get those people back out there and get them going. So.
And I know that this is a recurring expense, but it's something that is near and dear to the hearts of every farmer and rancher across the state, and that's the LSU AgCenter.
Absolutely.
Over about a 10-year period, it saw its budget cut by almost 33%, almost in half.
Yeah.
What's the plans there? Is there any plan to try and funnel some more money toward the LSU AgCenter and the research that it does?
Well, absolutely. And I'll tell you how, 6 years ago when I became chair of agriculture, the one thing that I realized that most of the members on the floor, and I say most of them, your New Orleans, your city people, most of them didn't really understand the impact that agriculture had on the city, right? They felt like we don't have to worry about ag issues because we don't have any in the downtown New Orleans, right? So what I done was I reached out to LSU and I said, guys, look, for me to be able to help you and to get where we need to be as far as the Ag Center itself and getting dollars there to repair things and do the research that we need, I need everybody here to understand how important ag is. So I had LSU do some work and put together a pamphlet on everybody's district on how many jobs that the ag community gives to downtown New Orleans. What products are their ag products down there?
That was impressive. I remember when he did that. And he's the first chairman of ag that ever did that in the House that I can remember.
And we did that. And I told Joe, and I forget exactly what it was. I wanted to say it was during the issue we had with fuel, farmers' fuel, and you came to me about taking it out of a bill. Right. And because they wanted to tax it again or something. I forget exactly what it was.
It was the diesel fuel that we were talking about at the time. And it's when the legislature was looking at all the exemptions and wanting to remove them all if they could.
So it was one of those lean years.
Yes.
And Joe says, do I need to pass a sheet out on the floor to get the helps with the vote? And I said, no. I said, I don't think so. I think everybody understands how important ag is now. And sure enough, we went down there. He said, okay, I won't. We went down there and didn't have one person vote against us. Wow. And all I had to do was mention, hey, guys, it's for ag. This is important to all of us.
What he's saying, what he did, he educated them. That's what we're all about.
And that's the big thing, is educating people. And back on the Ag Center, that's what the Ag Center does, right? Yeah. We not only do research and do those things, but we also educate.
I want to back up a little bit because I thought of a really ingenious way in which you could really get through, especially to the folks in New Orleans. What you do is you get a lot of their top chefs, bring them in and then have them prepare a meal without agriculture.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what they did in South Carolina?
It might be a piece of cardboard.
I was about to say air and water. That's about all you're going to have.
I don't want that meal. I don't want that meal.
You don't want to be invited to that one?
No,
I think it was the South Carolina Farm Bureau hosted a lunch in the Capitol for the legislature one day. And when they all got there, they opened the chafing dishes and there was nothing in them. And then later, after they understood the value of the farmer, then they offered them hot dogs and hamburgers, on the side. They had something over there. But yeah, no farmers, no food.
That's right.
Is a bumper sticker that we really like.
You also like that statistic from that recent survey about.
Yeah, but recent survey results have come in and they've shown that 4 out of 4 people eat food. So, we're going to stick with continuing to grow it.
I like that.
Well, but back to the Ag Center, a lot of folks probably don't realize how deep the research is that they do, the money that actually brings in to the Ag Center, to the university, the patents they have on some of these seed varieties, Clearfield rice. I mean, that is a huge boon for the Ag Center and it being self-sustaining, not needing as much from the state.
And that's important to know, because think about it, if we didn't have those things at LSU, if LSU wasn't that far ahead of a lot of other universities when it came to the ag side, right? And think about how much money we would have to put in if we didn't have that income. What the AgCenter comes in and what they ask for is it's not anything major by no means. When you compare us to other states, you pick one, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, you look at what their AgCenter gets, they get a good, substantial bit more than what we have been able to give. But I think with where we are today and where we were the last 2 years, I think we've made a huge increase into the ag centers and putting money in there. I think last year we put $7 million in.
That's right.
And that's a huge bump up from where we were before. It's still not enough. But I think now we have an understanding, not only just LSU Ag, but at Southern and at McNeese, we all have a piece. It's an investment that's going to pay itself back. So
yeah, I was going to say, I've done a story recently on the at the sweet potato research, and I was raised in Franklin Parish. I've driven past that research station hundreds of times and never realized that not only are they developing varieties that's helping farmers in Louisiana be able to grow more marketable and just be more efficient on their farms, but they are a global resource.
Absolutely.
And it's marketing Louisiana around the globe. They're taking calls and they're helping farmers around the world to raise sweet potatoes. And it's like, that's happening in Winsboro, Chase.
Well, and you know the funny thing, and I say that when you look at products that we develop here with ag, whether it's the sweet potatoes or whether it's hot sauces or whether it's dishes that we have. My son travels and he goes all over the world. He loves it. I don't. I particularly like staying in the United States, right? But he travels and he goes, and I always challenge him when he goes. I said, I want you to take a picture of something Louisiana every time you go. Well, 90% of the time when he does send me a picture, it has to do with food, right? It has to do with agriculture.
That makes sense.
You talk about the sweet potatoes. He was in Germany. I want to say it was. And sure enough, he was at a restaurant and they happened to be unloading a truck and it was Louisiana sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Wow. It's a global reach. And that's what the Ag Center, I mean, we don't talk about the Ag Center or talk about Louisiana agriculture as a marketing tool to promote Louisiana, but it does. And we didn't talk about this. It's reality that it's got a much larger reach than Louisiana farmers or Louisiana's culture.
Yes.
And what does that do for our economy? I mean, that introduces us to people who may not know anything about Louisiana. And then suddenly, well, this is something I like. I want to go there.
Yeah. And look, having those things like that and having people have a dish, a sweet potato, or have the hot sauce even. You take Tabasco as worldwide as it is. People see it, and lots of times people want to come to Louisiana just to go visit it. And when they're here, they get exposed to so much more, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at what we have, and if people just took the time to come and just taste it and visit it, man, they don't want to leave. They want to stay. And
you could do an entire tour down I-10 and have several different kinds of cuisine. I mean, I grew up in New Iberia, so I can go I can go a long time about Tabasco. But going back to the LSU AgCenter, the LSU system right now is sort of still in a period of transition. We have a new president of the LSU system, William Tate, who's come in and is talking about making some changes. And one of the concerns, at least for folks in agriculture, is the possibility of the LSU AgCenter being scooped in as part of the LSU Baton Rouge campus. Right. I know that would bolster its research output immediately and show some immediate metrics on money coming in. But is that real if you do that? If it's something that's already exists and you just put it under a different umbrella, does it change anything? And where do you stand on having the LSU AgCenter go into another campus?
Look, I believe that the one thing that we utilize best here, and I think you've seen it here at the legislature since myself and President Cortez got into these leadership roles, is working together, right? bringing people together. Let's find a path forward. Let's do things. You looked at tort reform. You looked at tax reform, things that we could never move before we moved these last 2 years, right? But it's because we came together and worked together. That being said, LSU, and I've met with Mr. Tate. I think he's a fine man, and I think he has bold ambition out there to be able to try to make things better and to make LSU better. I think legitimately that's what he wants to do. I have concerns on moving the AgCenter underneath there. I think when you look at the AgCenter and how successful the AgCenter has been on a much limited budget than what the university has, and the people that are there that are dedicated to making it better, it's a whole different role when you come into the university side. I think the university right now is in a lag position where it needs to bolster itself and get better. And I think bringing a very successful ag program underneath that program, it's not going to help that program that's failing. It's only going to weaken that successful.
By attaching bureaucracy to the AgCenter system, which is already currently in place and is working fine. It ain't broke. It's not broke.
Now, do I think the AgCenter can help and complement the university?
I agree with Mr. Speaker. We've had this discussion.
100%. I think that's the way you look at it. How can the AgCenter help us as an independent body? How can it help the university? And I think that's the avenue that we should all take whenever it comes to LSU, right? Get them to be a team player. How Coach O used to say it, one team, one heartbeat. Well, look, it's a team. The LSU is a team. It's a branded name. LSU Ag wants to be a part. They want to help. They want to participate. But you have to bring them in as a teammate and not as a captain on top of them. So
it's good to hear you say that. And have you had any conversations with President Tate about this at all? And where did I don't want to put you in any political positions that you don't want to be in, but what came of that, and what were your feelings afterward?
So me and him we did have a meeting. We discussed it and had a good conversation about it. And his examination of everything was, we had done this in South Carolina. Other states have done it, and we talked about the differences, and we talked about how those were. And the differences that I found out, I went and checked, was those ag programs in those other states, when they brung them underneath that university, the university was doing really well, right? It was successful. The ag program at that time wasn't very successful.
The other way around from what we're doing.
From where we are. And the ag programs are much smaller, right, compared to the whole campus and the whole LSU program. So bringing that small piece underneath there, it helped it. It helped bring it up. I expressed my concerns about doing that, and we had conversation. He didn't commit one way or the other. He did commit in keeping the conversation open. I expressed my dislike of him wanting to do it, and I think he understands that. And I think we'll have conversation as we move forward. So,
and that's good. It's good to keep that dialogue going. That's the way things happen here in the legislature. You talk it to death until there's a vote, right?
That's right. And look, it's the big thing is having conversation.
That's right. Keep talking. As long as the dialogue is open, then everything's okay.
When we looked at tax reform last year, I can tell you that the years before that, we couldn't get a bill out of committee, right? Last year, we brung everybody in here, all the players, and we sat at this table in this room full of people, and we talked it out. We put a task force together that worked the issues, a unanimous vote that we need to change something. We came in here, we put together a piece of legislation. Actually, we ended up with 6 pieces, and our goal was to pass 1, right? We passed 6, got them on the ballot, but on the ballot, we only passed 1. And we only passed 1 on the ballot because we didn't get out and educate people and explain to them what it was doing. It wasn't a tax increase. It was it was a proposal that was going to help you, especially business owners.
Increase efficiency.
Yes. And it bringing those people to the table, having that conversation. Same thing with LSU and the AgCenter. We have to bring people to the table and get them to understand where we are. So,
and I'll go ahead and toss this to Joe a little early. We know how important it is to be at the table.
Because If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
That's right. I had $1 for every time I heard that. I had $1.
Well, we're going to be wrapping this up because Carl was pointing out to me the time, and I'm sure that you have other things you need to do, Mr. Speaker.
A few things.
But we're not going to beware the Ides of March because March 14th, not 15th, is when the legislative session will begin. What are you looking forward to this session as we wrap up? Let's end on a positive note. What's some good things that we're going to see coming out of this building?
So each year we tackled things that we felt that would help the state of Louisiana become better as a whole. Tort reform, tax reform, and this year, manufacturing. Look, if COVID has taught us one thing, is that, back in the days when we were all young and vibrant, our parents told us, well, you want to buy American, right? You want to USA made,
we're
right?
there now.
We want it. That's what we want. Well, I challenge people to go out there and find those things now. They're tough to find.
Yep.
We don't have them anymore. And COVID has showed us that, right? We depend so much on China and pick another country, Taiwan, whatever you want to do. We can do things here, and we have to learn whether it's oil and gas that we're dealing with right now that could help us, or it's masks that we wore during the COVID, or gloves, or farming equipment. Pick one of them. We can do those things here. We have to set ourselves up to be able to do it. So we're going to have a package of bills this year that's going to focus on where we lack in bringing manufacturers and people here, workforce for those facilities, and just licensing and permitting in general to make it a little bit easier. I think if we do those things and talking to other states, we've seen what they wanted. It isn't tax incentives that keep them coming here that we're not getting, right? We're not getting those. It's certified sites. These companies want a certified site. Joe has, and I'll show you a quick example. Joe has 500 acres that he wants to lease or sell, and we know that there's companies out there that want to build, right? He has access to the water, he has access to rail, and he's close to an interstate. Joe says, I can get with the city, get with the state, get with everybody, and I can have this site ready in 6 months with sewage, power, water, whatever it needs. That company wants one-stop shopping. They don't want to come here and meet with the governor, then go meet with the school board, and then go meet with the mayor, and then go meet with the representatives.
Feels like he greasing palms.
They want that package already there.
It's got to be turnkey.
And it's ready. And that's what other states are doing, and we're not. And that's why when you travel to Georgia and you travel to South Carolina and you passing through Alabama, Mississippi, you see all those manufacturing plants. That's why. So we're going to work on that. That's going to be huge, not only just for Louisiana, but for the country. If we can make that happen here, we're in the center part of the country. We can distribute out to the west. We can distribute out to the east and the north from right here. And we got the largest ports. I mean, we have it. We need to utilize it.
Before we end, you've got 2 years left as speaker, right? This year and next year. How can Farm Bureau help you in your speakership over the next 2 years?
And I think we discussed it across the whole show, the whole program. Be at the table with us. And look, we won't always agree. We're going to see things different, but let's not go out and I won't throw Joe under the bus. Joe won't throw me. Farm Bureau won't throw me under. Let's work together and find a positive avenue forward. And I think we can do that.
Well, we can commit to that.
Heck yeah. Building on that, how important is Farm Bureau, but also just that involvement as a representative? I mean, you're a leadership here, but you're also, you're a representative. How important is it to hear from the grassroots?
It is very important. And I can tell you, I value that more than any other statistic or stat that I get is from those grassroots people, from my farmers when I'm in St. James or St. John, when I'm up in Livingston with my strawberry farmer, hearing their concerns and wanting to help, that's important to me. I can come back here and I can listen to everything about Bossier and everything about anywhere else that may not, it may be a Google search. I know what my Google search is back home, right? Those guys tell me, and that's what I like to have.
I wouldn't use Greg Gravois as my Google search. I'm just saying that back Vacherie cane farmer might get you in some trouble. Well, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate you taking all this time to meet with us, especially pretty much leading into the session. Your time's valuable right now, and we appreciate the fact that you gave it to us.
And I'm glad you said that. But look, I thank y'all for what y'all do. Y'all know I'm a huge fan of y'all. I share your programs on all my social medias, and it's important what y'all do and to keep people engaged. And this office is always open anytime we can help y'all and keep Louisiana moving forward. So thank you.
You see, Carl, when Brittany kicks you out, you got a place to come crash. On behalf of Carl Wiggers and Joe Mapes, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for the Grassroots Government Podcast. And because remember, you got to listen and be at the table, because if you're not at the table,
you're on the menu.